Welcome to Lazy Afternoon, this pastel painting of a beautiful black-faced gray wolf. I'm going to start by adding her eyes. I'm outlining her eyes with a 750 black Carbothello pastel pencil, being very careful to follow the outline of her eyes. Eyes are very important. I'm going to add the highlight in her eye with a white charcoal pencil. So I'm kind of drawing the shape of that outline in. And to that, I'm going to add some blue that's a reflection of the sky with a Derwent P370 Pale Spectrum Blue. If you don't have that blue, you can use another medium to light value blue to add that reflection of the sky. And now I'm using a Conte pencil number 7, red brown, to add the color of her eye at the top, and then I'm shading that with black to darken it down because the eyelid casts a shadow over the eyeball. Just refining the shape a little bit, darkening the corner of the eye, and adding a white highlight in the corner with the white charcoal pencil. Drawing in the pupil with the black pastel pencil, the Carbothello, and using the Conte red brown to add color into the iris going outward from the pupil and at the base of the eyeball. If you do not have a Conte 7, you can substitute a Carbothello 675, which is French red ochre. Her eyes were very orange, and so to create that, I'm going to use Carbothello 215 Indian Yellow to add color into the iris. I'm using a circular motion, and so I'm adding this orangey yellow color between the red brown that we put down earlier around the pupil and the bottom of the iris. I'm going to blend these colors together with my little tiny blender. I'm just kind of dabbing it to kind of blend that color in. Mix the two together. I think now I'm going to add some more 215 Indian Yellow to brighten it up. And at the base, I'm going to use the Conte number 7 red brown. Here I'm using a Carbothello 635 Bister, which is a super dark brown right around the edges. And what this does is helps to create the illusion of roundness of the eye because it makes that outer edge curl under. I'm darkening the pupil with my 750 Carbothello black, adding a little bit more brown. And now we need to add some highlights. I'm going to add the highlights with 692 Golden Ochre Light right in the center. Little tiny vertical marks of bright light. Doesn't it? It just makes that eye come to life. I'm going to put some white on the rim on the outside edge around this eye. Reshape that a little bit with the red brown and the Beaster. I'm going to use my 750 Carbothello Black to outline the outside eyelid or rim of the eye. And I'm carrying that black out a little bit away from the rim. And I'm using Carbothello 430, or you can use Derwent 370 Pale Spectrum Blue, which is what I'm using right now, to highlight that rim. In the corner of her eye. And separating that a little bit with a little more black. You can also use Carbothello 390, which is Prussian blue, to darken that area. A little more Beaster on the inside. Now I'm brightening the rim with the white charcoal pencil. Just seemed to need to be a little brighter to me, so I added as necessary. Now I'm outlining the left eye with the black 750. Carbothello pencil. I'm using a little white charcoal pencil to add highlight on the rim, and then outlining that with the black pencil. Putting in the highlight area with the white charcoal. So I'm outlining the reflection and then adding the blue with the Derwent 370 Pale Spectrum Blue that reflects the light. And then black at the very top where the shadow of the eyelid falls over the eye. A little more white to blend it in. This is the Beaster, the 635 Carbothello, super dark brown on the edge. Putting in the pupil with 750 black. And the Conte number 7 red brown out from the pupil, coloring the bottom half of the iris of the wolf. Then I'm adding the orange, the bright orange color of her eyes with the 215 Indian Yellow Carbothello pencil, blending that into the red brown. I use the Conte pencil because it has more color impact Blended that together a little bit. And using the 635 Biester Brown to add that dark brown right at the base to help the eye appear to turn and look round, which is what we want it to do. So I'm adding highlights with 692 Golden Ochre Light. Now using the Derwent 370, I'm going to add a highlight to the bottom rim of the eye. I'm outlining the rim underneath the blue with a 750 black. Also using that in the inside corner. And adding white charcoal pencil right in the very tip of that corner. And brightening up the rim a bit with that as well. And blending it out into the fur area. Use your colors to keep tweaking the eyes until you get them just like you like them. So you use your Conte Brown and your 215 and your 692 and your black. Darken the pupil as needed. Just add those finishing touches to get it just like you want it to be. Now we're going to work on the nose. I'm outlining the nose with Carbothello 390 Prussian Blue. There's not too much detail showing at this particular angle of the wolf. And I'm going to fill in that top area with the 390. And the bottom. So I'm going to fill in the whole nose with 390. And I'm going to blend it with my little blender. Pastel Mat is wonderful for blending pastel pencils over it. Now using the 750 black Carbothello, I'm going to outline the nose, and on the outer edge I'm going to put black, and then on the underneath side, which is in shadow, I'm going to cover that with black. And again, blend it in with my blender. I'm using the Carbothello 450 Cyan Blue to add the highlight area on top of the nose. And I'm adding an extra little bit of color on the left. Now I'm using a Giraud Black 526 to darken that underneath side. If you don't have a Giraud Black, you can also use a 700.5 Rembrandt Black. But the Giraud Black is much blacker. I really love this color. Now it's time to base coat our wolf. And to do that, to make him look extra terrific, the first color I'm going to use is 508.5 Prussian Blue Rembrandt. I've sanded off an edge and I am evenly layering the blue over the face of the wolf. And be careful to keep it within the edges of your drawing. You can see I'm going to use it on the side, just on the side, around the outside edge of the face. You can use the end, which I often do because it's easy to get around in some of these smaller areas. So I'm going around the eyes. Look at how those orange eyes glow next to that blue. Now the reason we're putting the blue down instead of just painting it black is that the blue adds real depth to the color of our black wolf. It's beautiful. Now after you've added the blue Rembrandt color, we're going to blend that color. We're going to push the blue into the paper with the little sponge applicator. I go carefully around the eyes. That's the most important area. We don't want to get this blue into the eyes. I'm going to switch to a bigger sponge so that I can blend that a little more thoroughly into the face. And I'm pushing fairly hard. You can use a cosmetic sponge. They work fairly well. This is a harder sponge. Now I'm going to stop because I see this needs to be fixed and color in this area with my 390 Carbothello pastel pencil. So I'm darkening around the rim of the eye. It really helps to pop those eyes out. I'm continuing to blend the blue into the paper with the sponge. Now you can clean these sponges off on a paper towel too and reuse them. Be careful going around the eye. So I'm going to switch to a smaller blender. And I'm using the 390 Prussian Blue to outline the rims, outline the eye. It helps to really pop it out. I'm really excited about the way that looks. Look how realistic those eyes are at this stage. I'm using the black Carbothello to pull out some hairs on the side of the face. We'll come back and do more with that after we put in the background, but this is just a little bit of marking it so we can see it. I'm using the 390 Prussian blue as well. I like to use color whenever I can. So I'm going to go down and even up the edge of the face. Darkening around the eyes with the black. Now down at the bottom where the nose meets the face, I'm using the P370 Derwent Pale Spectrum Blue to lighten that area. It separates the nose from the body of the wolf. I'm using the 390 Prussian blue to even up the edges, add the fur out from the edge of the face. And now we're going to add a black layer over the blue. This is the Rembrandt 700.5 black. We're adding that to finish the base coat. So we want this to be a black wolf, so we're going to add black over the blue and then blend it into the blue with a sponge. We're doing it the same way we did the blue, very carefully. I can use the side of the color, or I can use the end of the stick to add the black. Now after adding the black, I'm going to blend that into the blue. And that's making our base coat. We're going to add hair, fur on top of that. We want to make it nice and even as we can. I've switched from the little blender to the bigger sponge. The sponge will also take off any excess pastel so that you don't have a lot of dust on your painting. I'm continuing to blend and pull some excess color from the sponge into the top of the wolf. We're going to concentrate on this lower area before moving up to his ears. So I'm just continuing to even that out. Using my black pencil to outline around my eyes. I'm continually refining and working on what I'm doing. Here I'm using my black 750 Carbocello to refine the edge of the wolf's face. I'm adding fur to the center of the face of the wolf using P240 violet oxide, being careful to add the strokes in the direction the fur grows. Always be mindful of how the fur grows. I'm also going to use Carbocello 450 Cyan Blue. Again, using light strokes and light pressure. And we'll bring this wolf to life. So I'm going back and forth between the two colors. Using the violet oxide. And this is the 450 Cyan Blue. I'm adding the cyan blue on the right side of the wolf's face, which is where the reflected light strikes. I'm using short little strokes. I'm adding some black, my black 750, pulling hair into the blue hair. Helps separate that hair. Here I'm using my black Cretacolor Pastel Lead. It is blacker than the black pencil. Going back to the blue, but the black lead will add another dimension of black. To your painting. Adding some blue in the inside corner there, that just really helps pop that out. and adding blacker black with the Cretacolor Black Pastel Lead. We're going to add some additional highlights on the very edge of this reflected light, a lighter blue with the P370 Pale Spectrum Blue. Under the eye, we're going to put in some hair with the Violet Oxide P240. We're also going to add a Pitt 270 Warm Gray. If you don't have that, you can use a Carbothello 720 Cold Gray to add hair underneath the eye and above the eye. Adding some dark black with the Cretacolor Lead again. I'm adding a little 215 Indian Yellow to reshape the eye, and a little Derwent 370 Blue to fix that outside edge of the eye. I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of Lazy Afternoon. Be sure to join me for part 2 as we finish this beautiful Black Phase Wolf.